Let's get rolling here, guys. Got a hopefully a very valuable training for you today. It's a question we get a lot of, and I hear a lot of contractors have this similar problem is they're always getting cheap clients. Okay. And the worst part, I would say the worst condition is some guys don't even realize that they have cheap clients. They don't even realize some of these things that we're going to cover today. For everybody listening in, I want to address this kind of head on and hopefully we can get some value from it. Let's look at bad clients. Bad clients are costing you more than good marketing ever will, right? So I'm sure some of you guys can relate to this. The constant price haggling, endless changes, delayed payments, negative reviews for minor details. When we look at what bad clients represent to our business, one bad client, all right, can erase the progress that you've made with 15 good clients. Okay. If we want to look at it even in a different way, what's it really costing you, right? Who's really paying for less? How much time do you lose every week chasing quotes or fixing low margin jobs? And I'll use my own roofing company maybe as an example. All right. A roofing company that spends 10 hours per week handling low margin jobs loses about 500 hours per year. That's 12 extra roofs gone. Okay. So every time we manage a low margin job, okay, I can almost time it on my watch. Not that we have some guards up for it, but from time to time they slip through. They're almost always the problem jobs. They're almost always the ones that take the energy and that require the most amount of work to run. Okay. And we're going to go through the psychology a little bit of why that occurs. Okay. So maybe we need to look at this problem a little bit differently. Maybe it's not your price, but more it's your position. So let's just maybe put this in context. So if you look like every other contractor and you come in and you offer quality work and tell them that you're trustable, all right, we can almost be sure, we can almost guarantee ourselves that nobody's coming in and saying, hey, you know what I'm going to do? Semi-par, like maybe mediocre at best, and I might just steal your deposit. No one's coming in with that sales pitch. All right. So for guys out there that push their quality, push that they can be trusted, all of that really is just like everyone else. Okay. You guys all look the same, sound the same. There's nothing that differentiates you from the next guy. And you're actually forcing the homeowner or the client or the commercial client to choose on price. All right. Because there is no differentiation there. Okay. The real problem is marketing that attracts everyone instead of someone specific. And we see this all the time. All right. Especially, I would say, even more prevalent with remodelers. Again, trying to be everything to everyone, not really having a specific customer with a specific problem that they can solve. All right. Where we're just going broad and wide. Companies that are just starting up are very common to see this. It's the guys that jump in and say they can do everything. We more so nowadays need to really understand who it is that we sell to. What is our customer? What's our avatar? What do they look like? Okay. And understand that there is very expensive cost to saying yes. All right. The most profitable word that you'll ever develop in your vocabulary, as far as I'm concerned as a contractor, is the word no. Okay. And we should be saying no more often than yes. And I know that goes contrary to where some of you guys may feel you are positioned. All right. But we're going to go through that as well and we're going to address that. But let's really think of the true costs of saying yes to the wrong people, right? A cheap client, typical margins 10 to 15%. Okay. Stress level high, a lot of your attention, a lot of going back and forth. All right. How many of you guys can relate to this? A job that could never just be handed off. Okay. They don't refer anybody or anybody they would refer, you definitely don't want to work with again. All right. Those are bad clients. Those are type C and D clients that we need to be able to identify very quickly and make sure that we're not engaging in any sort of business with them. Okay. The worst thing that can happen is that you work really hard and solve their problems and they refer you to more C's and D's like themselves. Okay. That's how businesses really get caught up. Now, let's put it on the other hand and we say our ideal client. Where should they be? 25 to 30% margin minimum. Okay. They're manageable. They're workable. They work with you. All right. It's not a master slave relationship. Okay. And the referrals that come from them, they often always give a referral. It's a very weird thing. Actually, it's not weird at all, but I will tell you that all my referrals come from nothing but A's and B clients. I don't accept referrals from clients that we've designated to be in that C category or D category. We eliminate them as quickly as we can, and we really discuss how they got in our pipeline to begin with. So what would the impact of really defining your ideal customer look like? And again, let's just use the example I'm sharing with you here. Okay. So if we were to look carefully at every client and started to screen a little bit better and learn the word no, we could use an example. We have Johnny, which is a tile installer, used to take every quote that came his way. Once he started filtering, all right, out the budget shoppers, his average job value went from about 12K to 22K. Okay. Same marketing budget, but better clients. Okay. You have to think as well for you guys out there that are sitting on A clients that have account-based businesses. Just when you're account-based, those are plumbers, electricians, where you're doing work for somebody repeatedly over time, right? They have a high lifetime value. This is especially important. Okay. The worst thing you can do is build your business on a base of C and D clients. Okay. On the other hand, if you're project based, so that's we're doing one job for somebody once and we never really hear from them again, we still have to be very careful not to get involved with these lower D clients because they will cost you business. They will cost you any future opportunities that you have. And they really do create, and I almost think it's by design, but they put companies out of business quickly. All right. And we've all had them. Some people have learned to survive with them, but they never can thrive. All right. So let's talk about what the steps could be, where the evolution of a builder or a contractor can be, right? We all start off in the bucket one where we're desperate for deals. We'll take anything to keep the guys busy. All right. The second stage is when we're in survival, where we're looking at it as at least we made payroll, not a great place to be in. All right. The third stage of really being the master of your business, all right, is selective builders, right? We choose who we work with. Okay. So when you can choose your customers, that's a very empowering thing in this business. And it follows the rules of attraction. Once you start choosing the right customers, all right, you will find that you are inundated with the right customers, right? But you have to be disciplined enough to make that selection and to know who those people are, all right, and avoid the people that will bring damage or bring harm to your business. All right. The market leaders, these are guys that have clients that wait in line for them. Okay, so you imagine that a whole people just waiting in line, your ideal clients, right? That is the definition in my eyes of scale, all right, where we have the ultimate scale. All right, but once again, you look at any of the top 10% in the market, 10% in the industry, okay, national companies, you're going to find very quickly that they only serve a very specific type of client that they've learned to systemize their experience. Okay, therefore, they're attracting the same type of clients to their services. They've mastered the art of productizing their offers. They have completely understood their customers' needs. Okay. And as a reward for that, they're rewarded with more and more of those ideal clients. All right. That have low variables. All right. That we can move through quickly and ultimately we can be profitable with. Okay. The good old 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients. Well, let's just think about this in perspective. If 80% of our revenue is actually only coming from 20% of our clients, what if we fired the bottom 20% clients? Would your profit actually go up? Right? If you guys were to fire your bottom 20% clients, and now these can be people that you haven't done business. So we can even say prospects here, right? So if you were to put a screen in place that didn't allow you to even quote your bottom 20%. If you said no to maybe doing the bathroom renovations and only accepted renovations that were 50,000 and above. Okay. A lot of us struggle with this. A lot of us have broken discipline when it comes to it. And it's hard for us to say no when opportunities come. All right. Now you have to be able to, if you want to grow your business, you have to be able to make hard decisions. And for a lot of us, we're carrying customers or a client base that maybe were useful for us when we started. Okay. But now as time's gone on, every time they do business with us, it leaves us in a worse place. Okay. It's a classic scale problem. All right. So we got to stop taking anyone with a pulse, right? And we got to think of the three main filters that we can use to start to create these boundaries and these disciplines in place for us to actually select our customers. The first one is the mindset filter. Okay. Starts with you, the owner. All right. You, the appointment setter. Okay. you have the most power in saying who you're going to do business with and who you're not going to do business with. And it starts with deciding and sticking to that plan, right? So, do they value your craftsmanship or your price? Pretty easy question to ask, right? Are you being used just because you give the lowest price, right? Or do they actually value your craftsmanship or your expertise, what you bring to the table, what makes your company unique? Okay. We have the money filter. Do they fit your budget range? Okay. Are they, and I know it's just a different way to look at this. When we look at our clients as our customers, okay, are we going to meet our profit goals working with these people? Okay. Is it going to be high resistance? And then we have a maturity filter, which I think is underutilized. Are they emotionally stable and decisive? Okay. How many of you guys are dealing with, and I can remember one personally, whenever we dealt with investors, okay? It brought a whole world of pain to us, all right? And we very long ago decided not to work with investors. And a lot of it had to do with this maturity filter. Okay. A lot of the reason I didn't like working with them wasn't just that everything was tight on the budget. It was how they made decisions. It was how they would come unglued and we would have to bring up change work orders or how they have to cover things up and how they had a way of always making it our fault for their situation. Okay. And maybe some of you guys are dealing with customers like that as well. Ones that can talk down to you, ones that can mistreat you or mistreat your people. Okay. That's not acceptable. Those are the people that you should be putting flags on and getting rid of. All right. And I promise you, again, the second you start filtering and you start removing things from your environment, all right, the more that the good things that have been there the whole time will start to prosper. Okay. So, if you've been here for a little while, you always know that I love to give quick wins, things that we can actually take action on today. And I expect that some of you will take some action today. And I want you to do a couple of key things, all right? Not big adjustments or wild swings, but I want you to ask the budget question earlier, okay? I want you guys to ask that as early and as often as you possibly can. There's something really funny that happens when you get that out of the way first and foremost, all right? Is that if you do it properly and you put it in the right position, all right, people tell you the truth. People give you their answer, right? And again, it can be as simple as projects like yours land between X and Y. Does that fit with what you had in mind? Okay. I asked that question in a connecting question. All right. I've gotten pretty bold with it. My people have too, because we don't have time to waste with people who are unsure or have a unrealistic view of what this is going to cost. And I will tell you, and you can ask anyone on our team, we literally in our appointment setting. So when someone calls in, we tell them, I just want you to know before we go ahead and book an appointment, a metal roof will cost you 3 to 4 times more than an asphalt roof would. Are you prepared to spend $40,000 or more on a roof? Is there anything wrong with that? Anybody see any problems with presenting anything like that right over the phone? And I'll tell you, people are you'd be very surprised how quickly people take one side or the other. All right? It's either yeah, I can or no, I can't. All right? How much time have we saved right there and then by knowing our product, knowing our service, and being transparent and upfront with the budget questions? Okay. The worst thing you can do is spend your time providing quotes or providing expertise to somebody that never had the budget in the first place, right? That didn't have a realistic view. And I'll tell you from experience as well, okay? People can lead you on very easily, all right? They can be great at carrying conversations and you can be excited about working with them, all right? But we never asked that budget question, all right? And we had no chance of getting the job in the first place, all right? We still wasted our time. So again, for my remodelers and for people doing multi-trade jobs, I highly recommend the first filter that you are putting in place after you've had a discovery call or spent that first 15 minutes is letting them know that you don't work for free, right? So a design or a consultation model, all right, we want to get paid for that. All right, we talked about this on our last call last week. I don't want to go too deep into this, but ultimately we should all be being paid for our time. Okay. And the way I look at this is if whenever I get an objection to, oh, I can't get paid for my design or my consultation, Well, the first thing I ask, and that I most of the time know the answer for, is what are you doing for marketing? If you're living off word of mouth, I agree, right? You probably can't get paid for your time, right? If that's the only source of marketing and only source of opportunity coming through your door, okay, you've put yourself in that position, all right? And you are unfortunately going to face those consequences, all right? We should all have multiple streams of opportunity coming through our door. This is what empowers us to be able to actually charge for our time, okay? Again, quick win if you're in multi-trade, anything that's going to take you an extended period of time, get paid for your proposals, all right? Add a project minimum to your website or quote form, okay? Pretty easy. Right? Why would we add a project minimum to your website or your quote form? What's that saying? Anybody? Wyatt, I think you were here. What is that saying? Oh,
Can you ask the question again?
yeah. So what would adding a project minimum to your website or your quote form do for you?
Letting them know ahead of time before they reach out to you.
It could, yeah. But being
I have
upfront
a
and transparent with
question.
that. So why would I put that in my website though? Like, why would I want to openly share a project minimum with somebody on my website? What would that do for me and people seeing my website?
To yeah to deter
Yeah,
it helps you you pick your clients or your clients
right.
will pick you.
That's
Um,
right.
it be from an A to a C client.
You got it. So again, for a lot of you guys, especially in the general contracting, I find that it's easy to get misinterpreted as a handyman. Okay. You want to save yourself some time and aggravation with tire kickers and people wasting your time. All right. Tell them that you only do a minimum of $5,000 projects. $10,000 is the lowest you're going. Okay, so if they're calling you, all right, they know what your minimum is. And if their job doesn't fit in that or their budget doesn't fit in that, they shouldn't be calling you. Save you a world of pain and time. All right. But on the other hand, people are always afraid of losing business. I hear this over and over again, and it really comes from a place of scarcity. Okay. And for anybody that really follows the laws of attraction and understands, how supply and demand works, all right, we are in the most abundant time in human history. Okay. Despite what the news says, what everything around you is saying, there's never been an easier time as a contractor to thrive than there is today. Okay? There's never been a better time to market. There's never been an easier time to enter the market. There's never been a more profitable time or a more bigger opportunity for you to grow your business. Okay. So don't let scarcity, all right, get into your mind and screw up your opportunities. Assume that we are in the most abundant time that we are, because we are, all right, and I can prove it over and over again. All right, when you think with abundance and all right, that no matter what happens, all right, probably in the next 10-kilometer radius around you, there's more work than you can ever imagine doing. Okay. If we go into it with that mindset and we choose our customers, all right, we select our customers and we don't take them out of desperation, you're going to see not only your business change, but your whole world change. Okay. You are fundamentally setting a standard for yourself, for your business. Okay. You're showing your leadership. You are dictating what you will and will not accept. Okay. In my eyes, that's leadership. And believe me, good customers want to know you're leading them. Okay. Not the other way around. Okay. So again, everybody here, I challenge you to take some of these steps, all right, that are going to help to get rid of some of these tire kickers, these people that are stealing your time, the time vampires that exist around us all. Right. So I get this question a lot, and I felt like it's only necessary or it would only be appropriate for me to address it, right? How many of us have been asked to do a job cheaper, right? Maybe give me a one in the chat. Who's been asked to lower their price?
I'm asked every day because I live in a border town.
Cool. Oh, I love it. I love it. Border town, absolutely. Okay. Okay. So I challenge you next time, right? I could, but I'd have to remove something that they actually want, right? So no problem, as long as you're okay if I possibly use my secondary crew or my apprenticeship crew. You're okay with that, right?
We tell them we're going to use cheaper materials that I can't warranty.
Warranty, service, which should I cut? All right. Now, what's that saying to them?
That they're not getting the best of the best.
You always want to make sure that we are getting them to compare apples to apples, but like when you repeat it back to them, doesn't it sound stupid? Somebody asks you for a discount? Yeah, no problem. What do we remove? Obviously, they don't want to remove anything. They just want you to do it cheaper and just work for free. I find the best way to handle this is just when you say it. And again, I try not to be condescending when I get this question, but it happens, right? I've learned to just stay silent and stare at them. It's a little awkward, but it works. You'll see them in their mind and their little gears running. And usually at that point, you'll know, right? And more importantly, if they're going to remain a customer of yours, you've now set the boundary, right? We don't ask for discounts. If you want it cheaper, what are we removing? That's more the conversation we should have, right? And it positions you as the expert and not the employee. I think a lot of times what we're doing, and it's natural, especially if we're just starting out our business, is we get into this master slave or employer-employee situation where our clients, again, they feel like they own you by the hour. And we've got to make sure as contractors that doesn't happen. Okay. They pay us for a result. They pay us for delivering them peace of mind. Okay. The hours and the time is irrelevant to that. Okay. So we have to make sure that they understand we're an expert and we have to demonstrate it to them. Okay. So again, a lot of this is just the way that you see yourself personally and the mindset you bring to the call or to the opportunity. All right. Everybody knows the difference between an apprentice and a fifth year apprentice or fifth year licensed tech, right? There's a pretty significant difference there. All right. So how are you presenting yourself as a business owner? How are you presenting yourself as a business? Are we giving in on these things? All right. Are we allowing people to force us to work for wages? Right? Or are we setting our boundaries? All right. And remember, again, boundaries when we set them is empowering us. It's putting a line in front of us saying we're not going to go past here. All right. So again, it may sound a little backwards, but once you set that boundary, it becomes way, way easier to say no. And I'm always looking at new and better ways of being able to say no. Right. The more no's that I go through and the more customers that don't fit, all right, gives me bigger and better opportunities to accept the customers that do. Okay. And over time, you remove variables from your business, which is the most important thing to scale. All right. You want the least amount of variables. You want to have a very simple business. Okay. Simple scales, complicated fails. Right. So if we're dealing with someone that's constantly changing the goal line, all right, or changing things that make the job unsuccessful, we got to get rid of those people, right? Or never engage with them in the first place. Okay. So the right client equation, right? What's the right client equation? Because I get this a lot. And I'm gonna say it from my perspective. We could go back and forth on this a little bit, and I did take a little bit of time to think about it, but I think first and foremost that they have to align with your values. Okay, so again, how you see yourself and the type of company that you want to be and the things you are trying to represent in the industry and the market, okay, they have to be in line with, right? So if somebody doesn't value quality, doesn't value supervision, doesn't value engineering, or doesn't value any of the expertise that you bring, all right, and maybe doesn't have integrity like you do and will cut corners, is that somebody you should be in alignment with? Is that somebody you should be doing work with? If somebody's, and I'll give you a very good example. I've had customers who would yell or scream or raise their voice at my receptionist. Would never do it to me or to any of our staff, but they were rude to my receptionist, or they said some things that weren't nice. I'm not doing business with them, and I don't care at what stage or what they're offering me. We don't do business with people like that. And we don't allow people to bully anybody. If they're going to talk to our receptionist like that, I can only imagine how they're going to do business, right? So we don't accept that. We expect everyone to be treated fair and equally, and for them to have courtesy and respect for all of our people. If they don't, we don't need to do business with them, right? I've got options, and I'm very comfortable saying no. The next is budget. And again, I really challenge you guys to think about how budget shows up in your day-to-day client selection. All right. And one thing that I'm going to share with you that I've learned in all my years of contracting is there is absolutely no strategic advantage in being the lowest or the middle price guy. There's no strategic advantage. None. Okay. There is, however, a very strategic advantage in being the highest price guy, right? Now, and the best way I can explain this is there's always people in this world that will buy a Honda Civic and swear by that brand. Okay. In fact, Honda Civic has its own brand of people very clearly identified. All right. And maybe you've met a Honda Civic type of person in your life, or you have them in your life now. Maybe you're one. Okay. Think about the people that resonate with a Honda Civic. Okay. What do they appreciate about that car? And there's enthusiasts for these cars. Okay. What is it about the car that represents so much value to them? Okay. And then on the other hand, in this world, we have plenty of people that buy Lamborghinis. Okay. Now, the obvious is a price, right? That's the obvious. But is it just price? Do you think the guy buying the Honda Civic sees himself the same way as the guy that's buying the Lamborghini? Anyone?
Some of them, yes.
No.
Some of them, yes, you think? So what would compel somebody that's, again, if they've acquired any sort of wealth and they can afford to buy a Lamborghini, all right, are they buying the Lamborghini because they want good fuel mileage?
No.
No. Are they buying the Lamborghini because it's really safe?
Nope.
I would say those are the opposite, wouldn't you?
It depends on the Honda guy, because some of these tuner guys, they think they're running a Lamborghini.
For sure. But if you get to the core of what they are and what they value, you're going to find it does have
Price.
obviously something to do with budget. And again, we see it all the time. Someone finds a bit of money and they go out and buy a Lamborghini, but they're very rarely happy with it. That's what's unusual.
Catering.
The guys that are truly happy with the Lamborghinis, all right, they've imagined themselves in it. They know that brand. They're highly loyal to that brand. They know everything about the car, right? There's something about what Lamborghini does in their marketing that gives them an idea of the lifestyle they want to lead. Okay, and we all fall victim for it. We're all being hammered with this stuff all the time. Now, what I'm trying to express to everyone here on this call is that we all have an opportunity to create a brand around values. Okay. If we are really budget conscious and that is who we are, then be it. Okay. If you want to hire the cheapest guys, and again, cheap doesn't always mean bad. All right. Maybe you're the guy that's going to stop that. And there's plenty of examples. Like a Honda Civic is generally considered a cheaper car, right? Is it a bad car? No. It's very reliable. Okay. Toyota, longest running cars. Are they overly attractive? Depends on which kind of person you are. Some people, I'm sure they are. Okay. But it all comes back down to values. It all comes back down to which as high value in your world, right? You've got to make sure that your clients are in alignment to that. That's one of the most important things. And again, does budget have to be a part of that conversation? Of course, the last thing you want is Honda Civic money in your Lamborghini world, right? They just don't mix, right? They're not equal. Okay. The next is trust. And I don't think we talk enough as contractors around how we trust our clients. All right. We talk a lot about how does our clients trust us. And I feel like we're always trying to express to them how we are trustable and look at me and look what I can do and giving them all this price. But when we look at it the other way, how many of you guys have really carefully looked at, is this person trustable? Are they put them under pressure, put them in a bad situation? How are they going to treat me? Okay. And this is especially true if you're doing B2B account-based business, guys. I want you to really think about it. And it goes into your marketing. It goes into everything you do. All right. Remember, we attract what we put out there, right? So if trust isn't part of your ideal prospect, it's very easy to attract the wrong type of people, again, that can't be trusted. And I'll give you a prime example of this, all right, is a lot of contractors that we have worked with or have come to us with work, all right, They have a great game up front. Sure, they tell us everything we want to hear. It looks like a great opportunity, but we check their credit report and something really funny happens there. And we see all these lawsuits and bankruptcies even. Okay. What's that say? Right? What again, a lot of these guys that we're even going through with right now, and in the last 90 days, I bet you we've thrown out 25 builders that are literally insolvent. Can't work with them. Okay. They don't pay their bills. They don't pay their bills on time. Right? We can't work with them. Right? Now they're not happy when we tell them this, but what's that mean? Is paying your bills a trustable thing? Is that how we should be? That's how we should be measured?
Just out of curiosity, do you run a credit check on every client?
We do. Anybody that's doing over 25K and that is new, we run a credit check on existing clients to know where they are on larger, anybody that we have money in their pocket essentially. Again, you can get a service where you can get them on demand. But very important right now, because what happens, and maybe you guys are experiencing, but there's no doubt whether you're in the US or you're in Canada, where we are heading into a decline in our economies. All right. And what happens and what we're seeing is usually, especially like our particular business, roofing's first in, last out of any sort of recession. All right. Remodelers are first in, last out. Okay. So people rush to get a lot of work done to fix up what they consider their asset, their home. All right. So you might be seeing seeing guys with record years this year. All right. Don't be fooled by that. Like next year is not going to be very kind. All right. But what you really start to see is the companies that were not really focused on running a business and weren't really business oriented, they were just riding the wave. They're gonna fall out, right? They haven't really put the work into their business. They haven't really dedicated themselves to building an organization that can work without them and having operational excellence. All right. They were very much just trying to hustle and make a quick buck while everything was super busy. All those companies are going to disappear. And that's a good thing. Okay. But how do those companies get trust? Right? And what is trust for you and your client? What those people that were buying services from them, are they in alignment with where you want to be with your business? Really important things. And I did take some time to really think about what would be an ideal client formula. And really, the best way I could describe it, maybe it's not the right term, but it's drama. Okay. How many of you guys have dealt with clients that, again, you apply the same operations, the same energy, all right? Every time is drama. Every time they're calling your office, they're asking for lower prices. They're constantly putting you back and causing you grief, right? Causing your people grief. The contractor that doesn't organize things, sends you to jobs that aren't ready, or the business to business client that keeps promising you that next job and the next job if you take a discount. Like we've all had some layer of this, right? And for me, it's only when you recognize it and you can start to put that in a system and scale and really look at that customer systematically without your emotions or feelings that you begin to see a truer picture, right? So we have a system of rating customers. Okay. I could probably share that with you guys if you can reach out to us, we'll share it with you. But super important, okay? Because we can mislead ourselves too, right? If you're not really carefully looking at clients and vetting through them, a lot of us are sitting on C's and D's we think are A's, and that's the most dangerous thing in the world. Just because somebody gives you large volumes of work or has been feeding you work doesn't mean that they're the customer that's going to help you grow your business. All right. In fact, they can be actually hurting your business. You've got to look at a lot of different things that lead to these questions, right? How scalable are they? Okay. So I got another question for you. Would you rather have 5 clients at 30% margin or 15 clients at 10%? Who's got the answer for me?
All of
Definitely
our
the client
clients are
with
at 40%.
Option two.
You'd want 15 clients at 10%?
No, what was the first one?
5 clients at 30% margin
Yeah,
or 15
number one,
clients at 10?
option one.
Okay, perfect. So option one is correct. The reason for this is if you lower your price by 10%, okay, you have to do 33% more work to make up for that. Okay, so by giving someone a 10% discount, you are essentially to earn the same amount of money would have to do 33% more work. Okay, and now the thing that I can honestly say to you, and I can prove in my own business, all right, is the more you focus on the customers that bring the right value and that you're aligned with, right? When you find that customer, there's thousands of them, tens of thousands of them. There's more than you could ever imagine serving. My avatar is the same every single day. Doctor, lawyer, engineer. They live in a specific community. They drive name brand, or they have luxury cars. They wear name brand clothes, particular name brand clothes, right? I can spot them from a mile away. We can have a 5-minute conversation and know if we've got our avatar or not. All right. Now, anybody that's outside of that, we just say no to. 50%, in fact. They may be great clients for someone else, but not for us. And we're okay with that, right? I'd much rather spend $3,000 to acquire a customer, right, than spend $1,500, the 3,000 to acquire the right customer, than spend $1,500 to acquire any customer. Right? And I hope that resonates with you guys. I hope you understand what I'm saying here in terms of selecting your customers wisely. I certainly would not be sitting here talking to you if I didn't figure this out at least somewhat. I don't think you ever completely figure it out, but there's definitely a system and strategy to it, right? So the real problem, you're training your clients how to treat you. So let's talk a little bit about this. If you accept a client's discount, what are you training them to do every time? If you accept the client's bad behavior, has anyone here had to write up a customer before or give them a warning? Anybody had the courage to do that yet?
No, but I have had to take one to have the DA prosecute one.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one. Yeah. So I'm gonna be forthright with you. We have a system that allows my project manager to my coordinator to be able to write a customer up for bad behavior. And we have a very strict, and we have an agreement that when we enter, and especially with our B2B, not so much the B2C, but there's boundaries there as well. But our B2C, we know that we're training our customers how to treat us, right? So if we let them run jobs disorganized, give us late payments, things like that, all right, the consequences of keeping that client are extraordinary more than losing them. All right. So we only have one choice at that point. We call them on it. All right. Good example is if they miss payments. And we're not kind about it. We're not gentle about it. All right. We don't hide that. And yeah, to some people, it might be offensive. Okay. It's aggressive, but we're doing it for a reason, right? If they're going to do business with us, all right, those are non-negotiables. They're going to pay their bills on time. Just like we pay our bills on time, we expect the exact same out of them. And if they can't, or they won't, or they have a reason or an excuse for it, then we don't do business with them. Okay? And eventually that word travels as well, right? I've been around long enough that karma follows your company, right? So again, those companies that use other companies for financing their jobs, right? You don't think contractors know who they are? We all know who they are. And again, the more you're around and the more that you do business in a certain market, you'll find that there is no competition. There really isn't, in my opinion, anyways. Competition only exists at the bottom, right? The guys that are working at the top, the guys that have really rose to the top of their market, they're all collaborating, right? I can pick up the phone and call what would most people would be my nearest competitor, bigger competitors than me. We've had conversations, we've been on trips, we've traveled together. Okay. When big bids come up, we talk about them, right? Don't think that this stuff's not going on. You would have to be out of your tree if you don't. All right. So again, that follows them. We know who the bad customers are. And if I had to be completely honest with you, I'm guilty of sending bad customers to my smaller competitors, right? If I have to be honest, maybe not the nicest, kindest thing that you can do, but they always seem to thank me and be really appreciative of all the business I give them, right? So I guess it's a win-win. All right. But I know I'd never do business with them. Right. So again, it's just about what you're willing to tolerate. So let's talk about a confidence script. Right. So we're not the cheapest, but that's on purpose. Our clients hire us because they don't want us to do this twice. Who's capable of saying that to a customer? Who would have the confidence right now to tell their customers on the intake call this statement?
I'm about to put it on my website.
Okay. So again, a lot of guys him and haw about these things, all right? But you are sending a bold statement. Is it not better to directly tell somebody what you will and will not accept and see what comes through? than to try to be everything to everyone, right? If you were looking for the cheapest price guy and you had a budget that was really tight and you seen that message, would you even call me? Seems almost too easy, right? Like we could just tell people that, but that is what marketing is. It's about being direct with your message. It's about filtering through people that and saying things to people clearly enough that they understand. And again, what you put out is what you'll get back, right? So if you are putting out energy that says, I will do everything, I'll come to your house, I'll cut your grass, I'll clean your car, I'll shingle your roof, that's not a good vibe, all right? And people want specialists, they don't want generalists. Okay, and that goes in all areas of business. So it's very important that our messaging is clear, right? What we're saying to the market is what we're willing to stand behind, is in line with our values. Okay, and if you are serious about not being the cheapest, right, and that's a value. If profitability, like profitability is one of the values I have in my company, all right, I'm making it very clear to people, all right, that I'm not going to be the cheapest. In fact, I might be twice the price as my nearest competitor. Is it still worth us going ahead and getting a quote done? We're confident enough to say that. Okay. Now, it's important as well that you build your value into why you're the most expensive. Don't just be the most expensive and offer no value. All right. That's a different problem all on its own. But if you are and you can offer a superior service, or that you have an unfair advantage when it comes to quality or organization, all right, product, service, right? Don't be afraid to share that. All right. Let people know that they're going to pay for the value. All right. And you'll end up finding the people that are willing to pay, all right, and that are in line with your values. Okay. So we're almost done here, guys. Appreciate you hanging in here with me, but let's talk about a premium client attraction flywheel. And that's a lot to say in one go, but what is the steps here to creating a flywheel? All right, something that's going to work indefinitely for you. All right, that you can implement relatively quick. All right. And everybody should do this, especially if your business has been growing. Okay, I can't stress this enough because your customer changes as your business scales. Okay, a lot of guys miss this mark, right? What worked for them when they were just starting out won't work for them when they start to do $1 million, $2 million, $3 million bucks, right? So we always have to be defining our ideal client, project type, mindset, budget, all of those things. All right. And those change over time. As your business grows and matures, those change. All right. So don't stay stuck on one client or the other. We want to look at a 12 to 3 year run rate of having this ideal client. Okay. And we need to discuss it. We need to make sure that our people know who that person is. Right. And then one of my favorite things I love to talk about, we won't get too far into this, but design your offer, guys. How many of you guys are out there offering your services? The hell is that? That's a commodity thing. That's not an offer. All right. Think about your offer. Think about what you do, what makes you unique. All right. What is the specific problem you solve a specific way for the specific person? Okay. That is offer. Okay. Make your offer compelling, make it desirable, make it so that the right person who wants to do business with you after engaging with you will feel stupid if they don't go forward with your business. If your offer isn't that good, okay, and isn't that compelling, all right, then you really have to go back to the drawing board on what offer is and start building your business around an offer. Okay. Too many of us just don't get that principle and don't understand that people don't want to buy your services. Okay. If you're just offering services, you are a commodity. We can get it anywhere. You have to have a compelling offer. This is all about your marketing as well. Right? 3, deliver on experience. That earns referrals. So again, I want you guys to work on under promising, over delivering. I'm sure you guys have heard the same boring terms for a long time, but when you design an offer around a specific person that has that specific problem, you are in control of that experience. Okay. You know what they don't like and what they like. If you've done it properly, if you truly understand your customer, you've listened, you've taken notes, you made the reference, you've experienced enough with them, you can deliver that experience 100% of the time. Okay. And when you can do that, all right, again, these are the keys to scale. All right. That we can do it with a very small margin of error. Okay. Number four, if you want to be smart about this, we're going to document those results. Okay. I'm going to tell you the most important thing about marketing today, and I hope you guys all listen very carefully to me. All right. Do not, under any circumstances, make yourself the hero in your marketing. Okay. If you make yourself the hero in your marketing, it will fail, especially in the climate and days that we are in now. No one cares about you. No one cares about your business. Okay. They care about themselves and their problem. Okay. Make your customer the hero. If we're going to tell anybody anything about our business, we better do it through making our customers heroes. Okay. If you can think about everything you're doing around making your customer the hero, all right, your world will change. All right. Your business will change. I wish somebody had told me this from the very beginning when I started thinking of marketing. I would have saved myself thousands and thousands of painful lessons. Okay. The more you can make it about the results that you deliver and tell your customer's story through their eyes, the better your business will do. Okay. Because people want to relate to other people. Okay. They want to see themselves in that. And if you're making yourself the center of attention and you're puffing your chest and saying how great you are, no one cares. That's the definition of fail marketing campaigns. Okay. What people care about is that they can relate to your business, that they can trust your business, all right? That you have the proof that backs up that you can deliver the results they're looking for, all right? And there's no better way to do that, gentlemen and ladies, than showcasing it, all right? Be proud of it, telling your customer success, explaining how your customer was struggling, okay? It changes everything, all right? And number five, if you have a niche, which we all should, all right, dominate it. Okay. Again, if you have an unfair advantage at something, if you are the best at, again, I'll use my thing and I won't even say I'm the best at it. I'm probably not even the best at actually in terms of quality. I'm probably way off. All right. But I'll say I'm the best at marketing. I'm the best at delivering at what I promised. Right. I'm the best at communicating with our customers. I'm the best at delivering a reliable experience and giving peace of mind to my customer. Right. And therefore I've been dominant. Right? I've been very dominant in my particular market. Done very well for it. But again, you got to be taking the mindset of being dominant. Right? You got to own that opportunity. Right? You got to see it and be willing to put the work in to make yourself the dominant player. Okay? And if you follow all these rules, you do them over and over again, okay, you're going to find yourself in that position. Does this make sense? Anybody have any questions for me? No? Okay. Must be doing a good job today then. All right. So you might have seen my quick wins already. I love quick wins so much that I'm going to throw another set in for you. Okay. So let's talk about Showcase Project. This is an offer that you guys can run right now. This time of year, one of the best times to run a re-offer campaign. Has anyone heard of a re-offer campaign? No? Okay. So what's a re-offer campaign? A re-offer campaign is anybody that is you have given a quote to that hasn't said yes, but hasn't said no for the last 12 months. Okay. Best thing to do is reach out to them, offer them a small discount. Okay. 5, 10%, whatever you can realistically afford to it. All right. But in exchange for something else, you're going to offer them a feature. Okay, or a showcase feature, showcasing their home, showcasing their project, using them as a referral base. Okay. Make sure that we're trading a small discount and we're getting photos or content or testimonials or capturing the story of their job. We call them case studies. Okay. Allowing you to use that content and use their experience. Okay. And use it in your social proof and on your social channels. Okay. Very smart this time of the year. Number one is you're going to recapture business you would have lost otherwise. Okay. The art in the offer here is it's actually an exchange. You're not giving a discount for free or for nothing. All right. Which I never recommend. We're exchanging value. Right. We're exchanging value here. And you can rerun that to all the customers that you haven't been able to close. Right. And it works very well. We ran it last week or no, 2 weeks ago, finished up last week. We closed 5 jobs. One job was like 155,000. We're about $450,000 in revenue. Those would have been customers I wouldn't have that would have just gone on and found someone else. Okay, we made a reoffer. Okay, got the conversation started again. And then out of that, I'm going to use that for content. I'm going to use that for creating other case studies I can share with customers, right? To build more trust. I can tell more of my customer's story. Okay, so there's your quick win. Pretty easy to engage with. We all have customers, I'm sure, that we've got quotes out on. You can call them, you can text them. All right, if you have a CRM, I highly recommend that you put a little bit of effort into creating a campaign around it. All right. But there's your quick win for today. Right. So every job builds your brand or breaks it. Okay. And I want you to look at it, especially if you are, right. And this is a double down on it, but especially if you're project based. Okay. So if you're doing one job for one person one time, okay, I want you to really understand that those jobs can make or break your brand. Right. Every time you start a new project, it's essentially restarting your business again. We have a whole other set of criteria we got to make to get that same result. Right. So think about this. Who's your next client? A price shopper or a partner? Okay. What's one change you'll make this week to attract better clients? If anyone feels confident enough, you can unmute yourself or throw it in the chat. What's one change you'll make this week to attract better customers? I've given you a whole bunch of ideas here. Okay, and who's your next client going to be? A price shopper or a partner?
We're gonna do that. We're gonna start discussing budget up front, and if that doesn't line up, we're gonna walk away.
That you just again, that's beauty. That's progress right there, my man. That's progress right there. And then the next step to that, when you get really good about having those conversations, is you're going to realize that the customers you were going to sell anyways, right? The customers that really bought in and were already more or less the lay down sales, okay? You're going to have more of those, right? Because you had more time to spend focusing on them. You had more time to spend to solve their problem. The sooner you get the 80% are wasting your time out of the way, all right, the more time you have to spend on that 20% that's actually going to grow your business. Make sense?
Yes, sir. Can I ask you a question about the
Absolutely.
where on your website do you put that minimum offer at? They put it on front page, like so they see it right away, or?
Yeah, again, it has to flow with your website design, I would say. And again, one thing I would recommend to you is, again, depending on what kind of work are you doing?
We specialize in kitchen and bathroom remodels.
Kitchen and bathroom remodel. Oh, perfect. We actually have a cool system for that gets budget like completely out of the way, and you should be dealing with it in your marketing side. They should be able to get the budget before you even get on the phone with them. That's the system I've had the most success with, is like actually market a price guide, right? And that just saves you a world of pain, because if they get through that stage where you actually give them the budget, give them the price, give them the selections, give them everything they need, all right? Are they jumping on a call with you to discuss budget anymore?
No.
No. Did we just achieve that 80/20 rule or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that it does is ultimately, again, it starts to, when you can price condition, especially with bathrooms, because they can be high ticket, but for the most part, they're in that lower ticket range, but they're frequently replaced. It's, I think, number two thing to get replaced in any new construction home, right? Again, the sooner you can answer those FYI questions, all right, and get through to somebody that's you've already provided value to, all right, they're already going to see you as a trusted consultant, right? You gave them something no one else would. Everybody else is not focused on speed and convenience, which is what they really want, right?
Yeah,
So
we're
if
still
I were
working on the
you,
speed part.
yeah,
We got
so
the convenience, but not the speed.
so again, if you know your customer well, I can almost promise you're probably coming into millennials and down now as being the major purchasing group, right?
Yep.
Okay.
My
So,
partner's one of them.
right. So again, let's think about what their value system is and the way that they want to do business. Okay. Do you think anybody wants to be sold to?
No.
No. Do you think
That's long gone.
do they think they want an Amazon-like experience? Do you think they want to be able to just make a selection and pick what they want?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
what we try to do.
Okay. So let's take it one step further. If I were in your position, in your shoes, the first thing that I'm going to do, and we've built these out, so feel free to book a call. I'll show you, but I would put a price guide. right on the front, like download my price guide. I'd also use that in all my marketing as a lead magnet. Okay. And I would go on the thing that they want the most because they don't know if they can afford a new bathroom yet. Okay. But let's say that they can. And you've provided that very clear, very professional looking, we'll call it a welcome pack. Okay. And you had an opportunity to brand yourself. Who do you think they're calling? Are they going to go out and get 3 other quotes from 3 other guys right away, or are they gonna call and have a discussion with you first?
Hoping they're gonna have a discussion with me first.
Absolutely. You know why they want to? Because if the number's in line with their budget, all right, or what they think they can afford, okay, the next thing they want is to get the work done, right? That is the definition of speed and convenience. All right. So if again, decisions are made much faster. Again, they're doing a lot more online research before. So like when somebody's actually reaching out to you, especially inbound, they've already more or less made a decision between you and maybe 2 other people. Okay. If we eliminate that, all right, and we take somebody from research mode to I'm ready to get a bathroom done, okay, I promise you're going to win more sales. All right. And at least you're going to save yourself a hell of a lot more time. That's for sure. Very quickly can scale on that. And I got lots to share on how we've helped some bathroom companies scale. That's for sure.
Awesome. We're definitely gonna be getting with you here soon, Jay. I've been following you for quite some time now. You know that.
Yeah, no, always open for a conversation as we share information for free, right? Hopefully you take some action and get some results. And yeah, if you want to see the bathroom guide or anything like that, just let me know. We'll hook you up.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Cool, guys. I appreciate everybody's time on this. Did anyone have any other questions? Anything they wanted to share? I'm open book for you for the next few minutes. Nope. All right.
I do, but it'll take a lot more than a few minutes, so we'll save it for when I get on a call with you.
All right. All
I
right,
gotta get
sounds
back to
good.
work.
If anybody's interested in booking a call with us, I think we'll throw the link in the chat. You can grab it there, or just reach out to us in Facebook. Other than that, I hope everybody got some value from today and is prepared to take some immediate action and make some changes in their business. Talk soon.